Alex Answer here. We are coming to you from the RV. It's kind of like I'm on one of those TV shows hiding my identity. So that's actually how the lighting is working out here in this RV in Southwest Colorado. So we're going to talk a little bit about stealth camping for a few minutes because it's an issue that some of you are dealing with, have experienced in the past, have an interest in, or might experience in the future. And I myself am going to be dealing with a new stealth camping experience in the future. And I'm also creating some goals for myself to get another vehicle when I can afford it. Something like, and this was recommended in the comment section, I think it was a good recommendation, a Volkswagen Bug. Let's just say somebody has a Volkswagen Bug available or less than $1,000 in the state of Colorado. Let me know and let's talk. Or something like that, something that's compact. We're in the RV right now. And I would say that RVs are not so good for stealth camping. They're obvious, they're large, they require more money to move. Uh, what if we have a global situation in the future where oil skyrockets? That would make RV living a lot more complicated. Cars, right? That little car I've got, it needs hundreds of dollars in front end repairs, alignments, shocks, ball bearings, tire rods. You know where I'm going with this. It would be better to get a 4x4. So one of the goals that I have right now, since the recent demonetization of this channel, which was most of my income, um, that's why I'm also discussing that this is 100% supported by you. Please consider supporting whatever way you like to support at any time. But I'm about to go back to work at a factory. And the issue is, why am I discussing stealth camping now when I have my own land? The subject of stealth camping has immediately jumped into my life as of now because of my car issues. There is risk in me destroying my car going to work. There's not enough audience support, even though that it's there, to meet my 300 a month, 400 a month minimum needed living requirements. Land payments are 250, folks. So I appreciate the amounts that do come in. I still need to make sure that the bills are paid on time. And so there's still not enough collective audience support. Take a look at Patreon, see what the monthly goal is. That's where it needs to be. But until we get to that point, maybe I can grow it to that point in a month. I need to take care of this month's land payment and next month's land payment, and snow's coming in. So they may not remonetize my channel again. And I need to build support or relocate to where there's easier access to work. There's more work 80 miles away. So this video isn't about that. It's not about the 10 applications or the other places where I apply and I didn't get work locally. This is what it's come to. And so it's going to challenge me to, because I like to talk about on YouTube the things that I'm going through. The common issues that we face as stealth campers. Issues like discrimination against the lower caste or class humans that are living out of their vehicles, legal issues that we face because the place where I want to be stealth camping, the town, has a ordinance banning it because there are so many homeless. In fact, they've banned overnight camping at Walmart. Not everybody knows this. That lives there. And I'm telling you, when we walk into a society where things like that are going on and there's no place to go, that's not a good sign for the economy. It's not a good sign for human morality. And it's not a good sign for human organization. For humans and cities to organize safe places for people that are at that lower caste to go to where they're not feeling like they're subhuman. And see, I'm dealing with a lot of memories, bad memories of living in Portland and not having a place to live, not having a place to park my vehicle, and the fear, the common fear, the stigma of the single man living in his vehicle, especially in the day and age of so many kidnappings. It's difficult to be on those friendly streets where there are women and children because of those fears, especially in today's day and age more than others, more than other periods in time. Now, if I can go back 5 years and stealth camp in this town, or 10 years, hell, I wouldn't have to stealth camp because working full time would get me a place to live. So there's also competing issues here. We're also in the day and age of the lack of affordable housing. Even if you're working 40 hours a week and you're bringing in $1,000 a month, the question is, are you going to be able to rent someplace? In some of your areas, maybe. But if you're in California, no. This town saw an increase in 50% in recent years. So there's massive like resentment, anger to people that they don't know coming in because they see that and they go, that's why we can't afford to live here anymore because of people like you. No, people like me are not buying $1 million homes. People like me were pushed out of places like Portland because of domestic immigration from states like California, people fleeing those areas for their own reasons, which has triggered a domino effect. A lot of us have been pushed out of the regions where we are from because of people displacing us. But instead of be angry at them and continue this spirit of anger, we have to survive. We're in survival mode. I'm in survival mode. And I'm sharing what I'm going to learn and strengths that I'm going to retap into with you. Okay, so let's go over some of the things. Let me check my battery power. Okay, I'm going to have to come back. I don't know how long I'm going to have battery power, but I'm feeling the moment at 8:30 in the morning. But we don't yet have the sun to charge the batteries up that I need to do this. So we'll get out what I can get out. In Portland, Oregon, like other places, and I cite Portland because that's the city in which I'm most familiar with, the city of my birth. So it's always going to be a part of my dialogue because it's where I spent the most time. You'll have to cope if it becomes annoying. Um, so in Portland, a major established metropolitan urban area full of jobs and whatnot, I got to see the have and have not reality up close and personal. And I engaged in my own stealth camping experience. And I was on Access Television at the time discussing some of the same issues, left right divide. And that was during the Obama period. But because of the dominant politics with the Obama folks, they never felt any affection or compassion for me. I was confused for the right wing. Today I'm confused for the left wing by those on the right wing that are watching the channel today. The nightmare continues, one could say. And so that made me stronger and it set me free from Portland, that experience. But there are things that I learned along the way, right? So don't go out to bars. Don't lose yourself to chain smoking. And if you're going to go through that, understand why you're feeling crappier. A few nights I did go out and have a few beers, but I didn't end up like returning to um, former lifestyle choices, bad choices that I made, for example, when I was 19 years old, 20 years old. Instead, I worked out. I ate at the buffet. I traveled to natural areas. My YouTube monetization turned on. So for the very first time, I was getting a few $100s a month from years of YouTube while, quote unquote, in my vehicle. Not fully on the streets, but in my vehicle, which allowed me, and I even had insurance at one point, the ability to leave the Portland area and even do temp work. I remember driving a homemade teardrop camper that was $1,200. And that was its own adventure, becoming home free with a friend at the time who's no longer alive. He helped me build a teardrop camper in 2015. And we made videos about that. And that was a very interesting chapter in my own life. By February or January of 2015, I'm offered a job at random just to post whatever news I want to some dude's website. He let me go a few years later when I got to Colorado and he got way deep into the Trump train, but he wasn't way deep on the Trump train when he threw me the job. He was just being another generic YouTube soapbox exposing the NWO individual. Um, as politics divided us, we went our separate ways. But I considered him to be somewhat of an angel at the time for even offering me that job, including the particular individual that referred me to him, who left InfoWars years ago. And they were just still in this in between state of independent alternative media without being associated with AJ. So there are people in the past that have been there to give me a helping hand. Today is a little bit more, we're a little bit more divided, but there were God shots that I experienced in my own life that led me to believe that I was being protected. And that even if me and some of these individuals weren't good friends or didn't remain friends, it was almost as if they were angels that were there. Just like the other day where I got a flat tire and some woman appears behind me, what's wrong? And I'm yelling about my flat tire and she's pointing to Jim down the street. She's writing directions and giving me Jim's number. And I'm on my way in a half an hour. And those are God shots. I don't like what happened with the YouTube demonetization, but if this is going to lead to something else, it's going to lead to something else that's going to help me get unstuck from things I felt stuck from, then so be it. I'm ready. But I'm here to tell you now that I feel a great spiritual challenge upon me as well, because it's not like stealth camping in Portland, Oregon back in the day and a place that I'm familiar with. It's Colorado in the modern day of 2018, where they just banned overnight camping recently at Walmart, or in the last few years or recent years, as well as an ordinance for no overnight parking. And that's not just that Colorado town. That's tons of Colorado towns doing that because people have moved here that are lower income, living in their vehicles from all over the nation, especially Kentucky and the South and Georgia. I mean, the legalization of marijuana has drawn all different types. So you have people left wing and extreme right wing that are in Colorado because of legalization of marijuana. Many, many Southerners. So I'm saying it's also a lot of us from different places with different backgrounds that are kind of in a melting pot now of Colorado. And there isn't a lot of unity, by the way, amongst the homeless population. I understand the judgment, and I myself stay away from people that appear that they're on drugs or zombie like. And so I have a lot of insecurity about being judged because if I don't shave or maintain a clean cut appearance, I don't want to be lumped in like them. And there's something about myself when I'm stressed because I'm super animated and emotional and talkative, as you guys know. You might accept me for me, but when I'm talking to like a regular person or a regular secretary, they look at me like I'm potentially dangerous at the level in which I speak. They don't go, wow, you seem intelligent. Or like, wow, you seem like you need meds. And some of you might find that funny, but it's actually quite sad. My natural demeanor and way that I talk, the way that you guys accept me for me, is considered inferior to the mainstream world, mainstream activists, mainstream news organizations, including alternative media. That's why you don't see people coming to my favor or coming to my defense or even saying to others, hey, did you guys even know that Alex Answer is demonetized? Why are you guys just talking about Mr. AJ? That's weird. And it is really cultic that everything that's happening with him and everything that he does is like the center of conversation, while people like myself seem to be forgotten. I kind of like this look. Let me know if you want to do more videos like this, because that's what's going to that's what's on the menu. That's what's on the menu. That's what's in the planning. So I'm going to be planning those things. Um, Stealth camping in a city where it is not allowed. I may be doing some illegal stealth camping in my vehicle and hiding my body under some blankets, under some covers, and stealth camping in some places where I'm not expecting the officers to come looking and hoping that the car looks neutral enough that it's not going to attract attention. But if I'm able to generate income, or if a great donation came in that enabled me to do it, I do agree that upgrading to a Volkswagen Bug or something compact, a compact van, would be way more efficient than a 5 mile to the gallon van like this, which is, by the way, I'm sitting in a 1984 RV 30 series 350 engine. Here's the problem. It hasn't moved in 2 years. The brake pads, the e-brake pad, I don't know, folks, how to find anything on this. I mean, I need help with the actual jacking up of the RV to actually get the wheels off, to unstuck them. Um, the hydraulic pump is likely not working. That requires know-how and tools to get in there to unstuck the brake. So there's a lot involved in moving this RV around. And the state of Colorado, here's another thing that can really hurt a person that's low income or dealing with vehicles that aren't working. You have to pay for all those years that your vehicle sat in the state of Colorado. You just can't go, well, it wasn't running, so let me register it now. No, no, no. They're going to want like $300-400 to legally even put this back on the road. That's not counting insurance. So for this thing to be functional, this is another $500. This RV is better suited to be a shelter for guests. Like when Travis came here, he stayed there. People in the future, this may be an additional guest house. Survivalists, friends, allies of mine in the future, guests, things of that nature. And it would be good to have more friends come visit. It'd be good to hear from people in the past. But I realize that our lives have changed, our belief systems have changed. Many of us have become different people. Some people got too deep into some of their relationships. This also happens with a lot of men. Um, when a lot of men sometimes find themselves in their first real relationships, they forget their male friends from the past or no longer find them desirable to hang out with. So that's probably one of the reasons why I have more of a connection with single men in general. I also appreciate the married women that are out there in this world that have tried to help me along the way. There are some that have tried to manipulate along the way, but not all of them. So I also want to come back and reiterate some past statements. There are married women that have absolutely been there to distract me, to vampire on my energy. And then there have been other people, married people in general, that have been there to provide a state of support, moral or otherwise, financial, or tips or information. Basically, recognizing me as a human being and not being insecure about knowing me and how it might affect their relationship with their significant other. This is often an issue with couples, but there are going to be couples that are outside that paradigm because they both get it because they're both awake. But in most cases in this modern day society, both couples are not awake, and one will resent their SO for even talking to me. And that's the nature of the hive mind matrix, folks. That's the nature of the beast. So this is kind of an interesting challenge. Traveling somewhere else, making money, and using those resources for things that I need. It's ancient. Even the Native Americans kept moving. They didn't stay at the same spot. And I'm also in a place within reach of the Four Corners and places that I've never really been before or looked at very closely. Places like Mesa Verde Park. I'd like to travel also to Utah and Arizona and to see some of the more specific Hopi ruins and that particular region. I'm a little bit more familiar now with like South Central Colorado. I'm familiar with Denver and the Springs. Okay, I'm good on that, folks. I'm good on that. And I want to work my way to other rural areas, and maybe even see the far western or eastern, both western and eastern part of Colorado. Again, a lot of viewers in Denver and the Springs still prodding, still hoping to bump into people that are of a higher consciousness mindset that are not in the dense population centers in Colorado, of people that are already living the rural dream, that are outside the left right paradigm, that will see value in sticking around my channel and not just responding to one particular video 6 months ago and expecting us to become best friends at that moment on. Uh, in a polite manner, I'm always trying to remind the audience members that even if you were attracted to one particular thing, I have challenged this matrix, this fallen world, and the belief systems within it, and covered so many topics in that genre that my lifestyle isn't like other men or other YouTubers. And not every audience member knows that or has seen everything that's on the channel. So not everybody's going to respect that. And so for me with YouTube, it works way different than Facebook and Twitter. It's not like, like a friend page. Real friendship is something that's much deeper. What it means when people become friends and there's mutual trust. Like, I can trust this person with my stuff. On YouTube, there are parasitic forces of observation, whether they be government, stalkers, and there are also people that will portray themselves to be friends and allies when they're not. Some people aren't familiar with this type of deception and how normal and normalized it's become. Once in a while, I just have to politely remind you of that. Some people out there and they're like, hey, I'm gonna reach out. Hey, they may have a lot of programming and fear though, despite that. They may fear, right, that they may come on a government radar for even sending me an email. And how can I say that that's not the case? But there are reasons why I try to stay more on the spiritual path, the Gnostic path, instead of the revolutionary path or, straight conspiratorial. And this channel will continue to mature over the course of the next few months, the next few years, because I am actually trying to go into a deeper path into the spiritual message and to create even greater distance between myself and the stereotype that they're creating in the mainstream media of the conspiracy theorist. Because that's not me, and I'm not with him. Alex Ansary is outside the box, and he named his show Outside the Box as far back as 2004. I didn't just now name my show Outside the Box, it started out outside the box. This is the fallout now of the censorship, of the crackdown on the Gnostics of the modern age, or the independent media, or the people that know. So for me, this is like a spiritual adventure, the very fact that I'm looking at the possibility of returning to stealth camping. The need to upgrade from this RV when it's financially possible and that vehicle to something like a Volkswagen Bug or something van-like. I have some legal issues that I'm going to take care of in New Mexico in probably the year 2019, so I can, of course, travel back to Oregon and some other states. I have a lot of stories that I can share in the future, in a future book, about the various forms of interference that I found along the road of life, or archons on the road of life. You got to be careful out there, especially if you're going to be on YouTube challenging the world of the archons. Well, they have their agents in law enforcement, they have their agents in various elements of the machine, perhaps the YouTube system itself. That's another reason why I talk about going deeper into certain subject matters at outsidethebox.vhx.tv. That's why I talk about, if you truly appreciate the spiritual dialogues or sermons where I go off on a podcast for an hour or two, that's why I really appreciate when you do step up and you throw a donation, or you go over to patreon.com and you sign up on a monthly basis, and you do get updates when I post on Patreon via email. Unfortunately, I don't know that that's the case on VHX, but if you sign up on Patreon, I put out a private podcast or I put out a video, you get that update in your email. That's more than what YouTube is doing. But Patreon or VHX are not full escapes from the matrix or the corporate platforms. They are also connected in with this B system, and the battery's charging. This is good news. So as a result, we can't continue to create these mistakes of putting all of our eggs in one basket. We got to be a little bit more intelligent. We got to be smarter than the table, as one waiter told me when I was a busboy. Got to be smarter than the table. I'm trying to put the tables together. And I have so many memories, folks, of working in food service, probably 15 years of working either waiting tables or busing. Usually about half of that was before I got into activism. And the second half of those 6 or 7 years of activism was after I started, after I started OTB TV. Still was working in the industry. And as we got closer to 2012, kind of shifting up the conversation here as we get power, and I know I can continue. So we're looking at 8:45 in the morning. There was a time when Alex Ansary was running around yelling about 9/11 in the streets of Portland. And it wasn't a big deal for me to change my clothes, even be a little bit stinky, change into a penguin outfit, and then go to work in a town where I was on TV, in a major town, pouring people water as a server assistant where I would be recognized. And I'm here to tell you, it really wasn't a big deal then. Oh wow, that's kind of new. Wow, you got some cojones, Alex. I saw you on TV. I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you at all. But you were confident what you were saying, and you were well dressed. You were focused. It was a different Alex. I would get positive feedback, and people respected me. And so it's not a matter of ego. I remember what it was like to date various women of the society and to be respected, and for different males of my age group to see that I was doing something that they weren't. Now, with this YouTube bombardment, which came after cable access TV, because again, I started with access TV, talking directly to my community, that opened up some doors for me with regards to friendships and dating and projects. That opened up doors for me. When I walked away from that in Portland, and it was reliant mostly on YouTube, and I'm glad you found this channel, but the algorithm has kind of shot me in the foot. And I've thought about this morning. I wanted to bring this to your attention. I may have complained a little bit about Portland. Portland gave me a certain amount of freedom and flexibility in which some people don't even have those opportunities. And it wasn't that, hey, I like you, Alex. Hey, we're going to put you on TV. It was, I figured out that my city had the outlet for anyone to go and say anything at all. There was even a guy that ran around naked shaking his thingy. And I wasn't planning to do that, but if Jim Spag was doing that in the 1980s, showing his hairy belly and shaking his testicles before a live audience, I'm going, wow, I got to tell the truth about that day and how we got in these wars and what I see coming, what I feel coming. And at that time, AJ was doing better work. So I was the first person to introduce AJ to the people of Portland for many, many years, as I would find what I believe were some of his best moments and clips, like that rant from Matrix of Control. You see, oh, we're talking old school AJ, 2003. He's giving that speech at that Ron Paul event. And he's talking about that beetle of total control just spinning all over the place. And we have to realize what we're dealing with. This new world order. There I go again, flagging my own video. But hey, I'm already demonetized, and this is 100% supported by viewers like you. But for me to challenge that narrative as we were so early into those years and to know that there was a possibility that I could even be targeted by saying those things, it was a rush. And some people respected that because there was risk involved this entire time. And I think that they made it seem like, hey, come on out of the closet, say whatever you want. We'll give you some AdSense money and then we'll crack down on most of you. Even if you're against AJ and have some of your own belief systems, we'll crack down anyways. And I think that's what we're dealing with. And ultimately, we're dealing with a system that'll be attacking more of the left later because it's not a left conspiracy. It's beyond left right. So they're going to have people on the left that are applauding, right, the so called right wing being censored. They'll get them later. They may not go after the Young Turks, but lower level, non protected members of the left media, non protected, non viral figures that don't have ties to MSNBC, that don't have ties to others, that don't work for these private, questionable media platforms. See, they're protected. I know I'm going on a side rant. We should not just follow the talking points of these mainstream leftists or rightists. A lot of these dudes that are on these larger platforms are protected like made men. They can literally like deplatform an Alex Jones only to build him up or build up a Gavin. Ooh, they're censored now. Ooh, let's play some punk rock. Yeah, censored. It's like the parental advisory label on the cassette tape. Yeah, and all that did, the parental advisory is just make superstars out of Motley Crue. Like there's full on documentaries about the parental advisory, like doing like the best thing possible for those butt rock artists at the time. It was the ultimate. It was the ultimate. Here I go again with the special son. He was the ultimate because I like to do this a lot. And there's a YouTube channel called Edifying Others that gets into the Masonic symbolism that we're seeing from so many people today in the media, and the constant Masonic uh, hand movements that AJ is making and that other members of the other right organizations are making, and these Masonic salutes as they purport to hold up civilization. I think there's a dark side and a light side to Masonry. And there's people that have talked about it. In no way, shape, or form do I think that AJ, Gavin, and the others are part of the light side of Freemasonry, are part of some light side secret society. No. Now, they're part of a secret society, but they're not trying to bring us the goodness. You see, let's bring this back to self camping. Outsiders, people from outside this country, be it the Saudis or others, are not the ones behind the homelessness epidemic within this country. There can be in some areas friction over resources when others come in. It seems there's competition for jobs, and this is more noticeable in certain areas. They can also do that deliberately so there's a backlash against those groups. But when it comes to Federal Reserve policies, when it comes to specific policies that equate to whether the dollar dies or stays alive, immigrants, I can guarantee you this, aren't controlling that. And they're not controlling YouTube or CNN. But they can put up the face those individuals to amp up the false narrative that they're the ones now wearing the pants. They're the ones now calling the shots. And I'm seeing this rhetoric build from the Gavins of the world, that the outsiders to this country are the ones that are preferred, that are the ones that are calling the shots. And it is the ultimate lie. People are literally digging their own grave with this nonsense. So, this recent disinformation campaign has actually greatly inhibited or compounded the difficulties involved in stealth camping, especially if somebody is a minority. Now, think even if somebody's black, African American, dark skin. We're not even talking Hispanic or Middle Eastern. We're talking just straight black. Now there's an increase in people freaking out against black migrant Muslims specifically, even more so than Middle Eastern Muslims. With this recent event in New Mexico, I want to know the truth versus the fiction and what's really going on, because there are some very questionable things about that story. But now on YouTube, we can't talk about those things. And there are people that are going to have their own take on it, and they're going to use their own bias when they are going to be suspicious of the government creating events and other events and moments. They're going to let their own bias allow them to be told whatever the government wants them to believe. So there seems to be something that's been built up around this New Mexico thing that's going to spill out into a greater paranoia and psychosis. And so, and it's targeted towards off-gridders, even some white Americans. We talked about, of course, the programming of perception towards particular minorities or people that may look a certain way. So a lot of people are being targeted. It's never okay. And we have like this media machine that promotes judgment towards different groups, from eat the rich to kill the poor, to this against white people wholesale and this against those people wholesale. And then you have people like me with only a few hundred viewers that will be able to hold their attention. And we're trying to like actually live outside the box ideas. Like I literally named my show Outside the Box before I really knew the full reasons why. I mean, there were levels of judgment that I never even went through when I started Outside the Box TV. And 9/11 happened 3 years before that. It would only be until 2015, 2016 that like the real dark fallout from the 9/11 and its relation to myself, my birth, the uniqueness of my appearance, and then of course in recent years, seeing what's been put out on social media has taken control or hold of communities like this, to the point where stealth camping within a urban environment in some cases feels safer than places where no one can hear you scream. There's plenty of off-grid areas that would be a lot more preferable, and we're also talking about rural conservative areas as well in America before 2015, before all these people started believing things were a certain way. And one time I was at a coffee shop, and these older men were looking right at me as they complained about Obama's immigration policy, as if somehow Obama's immigration policy resulted in me being in their coffee shop, as if somehow I'm not from this country. But on that day in which I may not shave, and that hair is not short, and looking at the nose from the side, the association is made, just like I'm dealing with artificial intelligence. And perhaps what they're working with and their perception is artificial, as it doesn't feel natural. It feels very unnatural, these miscommunications, being misperceived, without even people actually sitting down, having a cup of coffee with you and actually hearing out your thoughts. But let's reel this back. So a lot of people are facing judgment that are in the lower income brackets, that are living in their vehicles. And I'm just telling you, some people are going to face even more challenge because they may be perceived as someone who's not just from outside the community, but outside the continent. All over quality of or the DNA code of the sperm that met the egg. The sperm and the egg. In this fallen world, the illusions of separation, our personal perception of values to people that don't even know us and our content of our character, by the outside biological spacesuit, they're judging it on a perception of the quality of the sperm and the egg without even knowing which was male and which was female, but just the end result. And that's become the dominant thread of thinking now in our world. And it is very unfortunate, and it cuts both ways. This includes, and this will include, and it's unfortunate, racism towards pale-skinned individuals or those that call themselves white. It's never okay. And one form of racism and discrimination gives birth to another. And as I said about the left and their violence, you cannot fight hate with hate. That's why they will find themselves judged more and more and coming under the social media control, because it's not controlled anyways by an immigrant loving left. It's controlled by the beast system that is dividing us over left and right and marginalizing and exiling those of us that are outside the left right paradigm to where we literally live constantly without family like movie nomads. And that's the path of Alex Ansary. That's what this channel has been about. It's been about my survival story in the country of my birth, yet it doesn't feel like at times a place in which I have a community or a tribe, in which those very few humans or souls that see value in me are usually not in my community, especially not now because I'm not in Portland. It's people like you. Now, even the system of YouTube doesn't want to have anything to do with issuing out an AdSense payment. And I wonder if even my exposés of Alex Jones, the Alex Jones deception, exposing him for what it is. I mean, I don't think that it's just what they say it is. It's the timing of it that has my attention. And the fact that this is occurring now as there's this purge of elements of the right wing. But yet I've been caught up in being judged as right wing. Again, even to this day. Well, a few people will come and go and call me libtard or perceive this content as that. When it comes down to brass tacks at the end of the day and the social media algorithm and the box we're put in, no, they put me in the box of the category of the people that they're going after. And it's because of that conspiratorial content. It's because of talking about the police state, 9/11, climate issues, private property rights, enough of those buzzwords and issues that I've talked about over the years. Even the battle between good and evil, which some will liken more towards even a conservative belief, even though I'm not conservative. It'll be seen as religion, the Archon commentary. So if you actually get real with it and go down the line of all the different things, they've put me in this other category in which I'm judged by my own demographic, with the exception of most of you that are part of the core few hundred. But again, I'm elevating you as a man or a woman that's one of the few that can accept me for me. Okay, so when you hear me criticize most men in this world, it's not anti-male. When you criticize or hear me criticize the behavior of most women in this world, that's not gender warfare. If you are a woman and you've been one of the few to stick around all these years, there's something different about you. And I need to periodically remind people that you need to be able to differentiate between yourself and the bulk of the men and women that are out there. You're already a unique individual if you're here to begin with. So I'm going to wrap up my thoughts and upload this. There's someone the next town over that's given me advice about stealth camping and places that I might be able to park. And so, again, it's a real volatile situation for me because if I drive that car back and forth, I can risk destroying it. And then I wouldn't have money to have a vehicle to go drive anywhere. I don't even have money for insurance. I have deep systemic economic problems from the lack of money that's coming in. So I appreciate there's a collective sum effort and I'm able to generate 100 or 200 from the collective soul audience, but I'm hoping to do better. And I think that I can. But I also realize that a lot of you want me to keep it real. You want content that helps you. I need to also remind you periodically to get specific and stay engaged in the comment section. More now than ever, join the newsletter. Join Patreon. Follow even if you only contribute 99 cents. 99 cents. Or $1, whatever the minimum is. And then you'll be getting updates on Patreon. So I'll be doing updates from the stealth camping experience, but I feel confident saying that there are a few channels like mine on YouTube. I think there are a few channels like mine on YouTube where the YouTuber has gone through so many different experiences, has worked so many different jobs, and gone to so many different places, while also being called a begging bum along the way, along the road of life. And at times, the negative stuff seems louder than the positive. At times, the positive is louder than the negative. It depends on the day. It depends on our proximity to the recent solar flares, recent eclipses, full moons. So where there's a high, there's a low. And I'm telling you, I've experienced a low point interacting with real people in society. We're talking about off the internet. And I'm hoping to see more positive exchanges. To me, more people like Travis and Bill. But again, in the last few years, I haven't known anybody like Travis and Bill. And I'm hoping that these are like positive signs that in the future there's going to be more of a emergence of people that are like of a higher consciousness with less of that dense, slower, dark illusions of separation going on, either politically, racially, or otherwise. I really enjoy meeting other men. There's another individual that's been leaving some comments, and he has his own channel, and there's a sense of empathy that we understand each other. For whatever reason, we weren't talking a few years ago. And for whatever reason, the people that were talking to me a few years ago aren't usually talking to me now, and I'm not talking to them. So, folks, we go through stuff, whether it be planetary eclipse, where we go through a whole new experience and we become whole new people. We have whole new friendships. I love the comment from the Spark, although it's kind of hard to believe when a woman actually seeing something in me on that level. Although a lot of the women that are their supporters, they see me in the way that they do, right? But I'm 38 now. I'm not getting any younger. So the idea of someone actually wanting to have a baby with me is almost beyond the idea of actual perception. But I like the idea of someone seeing a positive reality for Alex Ansary instead of a negative one, because that's not a vision that I normally hear. Something positive happening to me in the future. And I try to hold that in my mind. Maybe a place in Colorado where there's already an established community and I'm invited to the potluck. And it's not going to be a big deal. That I have a YouTube channel and I have the views that I do. We'll sit down, eat some healthy food, and I'll be able to express myself and the views that I have. And even though people like to put a front up about their communities, be it Crestone or others, never seen it. Never once seen a community open me with open arms. It's all just digital. Like maybe we got a community, but it's like no. I'm keeping the faith that there are going to be people out there one day in the future, and I won't be the only person like me for hundreds of miles in a particular region. Or if I want to hang out with a friend that we got to go 3 hours away or 5 hours away to see each other, like it is with me and the few people that I know in Colorado. We're spaced away by 3 to 5 hours. I'm hoping to see things change and center. Some of you may be drawn to live in the area in which I'm living in the coming years. That's awesome. Some of you may be drawn to go to New Mexico. Some of you, Wyoming. Some of you, the Dakotas. Stay in contact. Let me know what's going on. Let me know about your struggles, your triumphs. Some of you are in Idaho now, and you may go, wait a minute, maybe Idaho is not going to be safe from the things that Alex has warned about. Maybe we need to go inland deeper. Consider that. I'm Alex Ansary, signing off, reminding you the path to the ultimate truth and place of power still lies within. All right, thank you for watching.